Find out now. We are joined now by the hardest working man in show business this time of year, every single year, from Sports Talk Mississippi every afternoon from 3 till 6, and some other things too. The one and only Michael Borkey joins us. Borkey, how you doing today, sir?
Man, doing well. I'm just so glad that at 6 o'clock every evening I get to stop talking about whether or not Lane Kiffin is going to go to Florida. So.
Nobody's discussing that, Borkey. Nobody cares. They're more interested in your picks and who they should bet on for NBA games, I think, right now.
You know, it's funny you bring that up because I don't like conspiracy, right? I would like to think that there's an explanation for even when things go poorly, and especially when it comes to officiating, I would like to believe that all of them are just trying to do a good job, and sometimes they come up short. I come up short all the time. Everybody does in every walk of life. But this story out of the NBA now has caused me to, and a lot of people, to look at all kinds of games with a weird ending. Or, you know, they were down 7 with 5 seconds left. Why did they foul there? The line was 8. Interesting. And so on and so forth, because you have players and now a coach involved in this deal. Now you've got other players that were injured and insider information getting passed around. I mean, you have to question everything that's happened, because now you know that players and a coach at a minimum have been involved in something like this, and everybody that's questioned things. You're right to wonder, hey, the Saints-Rams game, NFC Championship, that no call, what was up with that? It's fair to ask those questions now because we've seen corruption right in front of our face.
And it's obvious corruption at this point now that it's been uncovered and explained. What do you think the odds are this is going to spread to other leagues like the NFL? Or even like college football at some point, because I don't think anything's off the table at the moment. When the mafia gets involved, everything is fair game, right?
Absolutely. And that's what's so funny about this. When you say the mafia gets involved, people have seen movies and TV shows. That is literally what is going on here. They arrested mafia members as part of this. I mean, college baseball, not part of this scheme, but college baseball has already had a scandal where a head coach knew that he was going to scratch a starting pitcher, and he called a guy that was at a sports book inside of the Cincinnati Reds ballpark, ironically enough. He got fired. It's going to keep happening. And the worst part about this story is 2 days ago, the NCAA is now allowing, they officially decided to allow college athletes to bet on sports that is not theirs. The next day, you have an NBA coach and player arrested as part of fixing stats and possibly fixing games for the sake of gambling. And what I said on Sports Talk at the time, when they were considering this a few months ago, was the slippery slope argument is one that I don't particularly like. You do the right thing because it's the right thing. But doing this for college athletes is like putting a bottle of vodka at the bedside table of an alcoholic. You are one swipe away from getting to college football. But even if they avoid college football, you know this, Ole Miss last year sent 8 players to the NFL. They're still friends with guys on the team. They still know their buddies. There is the connection there. So this idea that you're going to let college athletes bet on the NFL, but hey, don't worry. Nothing can happen. There's no nefarious actions that are possible is completely foolish. And it's rich in irony that the NCAA, the day after they allow this, a player and a coach gets arrested by the FBI. I'm fine with sports gambling. I think it's totally fine as long as it's regulated and you use the appropriate channels. But what's happening with allowing the access that it has, especially when you're allowing players to do it, is going to create more issues like this one.
I think you're right. Now, moving forward, let me get your opinion on this. Because it's a whole new day. Everybody is looking at the NBA specifically right now in an entirely different way, under a microscope. Do they put the word out to their officials that, if anything, we're a little more straight down the line and by the book with our calls moving forward, and you better get it right? Do they overcompensate to try to deal with this, let's call it what it is, PR crisis that they're going to have as a result of this case?
They have to, but what's really concerning, Brian Windhorst, who's covered the NBA for a long time, yesterday said that the NBA investigated Terry Rozier and pulled him off the court, but didn't do anything else about it. So if he's right, and he is, again, this is a guy that's covered the league for a long time. He said, and I'll send you the audio if you'd like, that the NBA pulled him off the court, but didn't do anything about it. So if they caught him involved in this and did nothing, it's more than a PR crisis. It is, a league integrity where you have to blow it all up and start over from the leadership perspective crisis. And the commissioner already has been somebody that I have thought has been handling things terribly, because not only do you have just the incredible decline in popularity. I mean, this audience here, a lot of them don't watch the NBA anymore, but I promise you, a lot of your audience did at one point. We hear it from our audience all the time. Man, I used to love it back. I remember watching Jordan. I remember watching Kobe Bryant and Shaq, and now I don't anymore. And a lot of that is tied to politics, but a lot of that is tied to Adam Silver, the commissioner, has allowed healthy players to sit. The player movement has been awful. You have officiating issues. You have style of play issues. You have had gambling scandals. Now you have this with the Clippers circumventing the salary cap, allegedly paying Kawhi Leonard for no-show jobs, and that has blown up in their face. And now you have a coach getting arrested. The league is just in such bad shape in a time where every other sport is skyrocketing. College football ratings, way up. NFL ratings, up. Major League Baseball, up. Hockey, up. We're watching golf, up. We're watching everything in sports except for basketball. No, except for professional basketball, because college basketball, up. So the league is in just a horrible situation. And I hate to see it, because I do or did really love the NBA. But, I mean, they're losing me too.
Well, you get right down to it. They do kind of go hand in hand when you have these kind of scandals and these kind of controversies and these kind of illegal activities going on. And at the same time, you see the quality of the product go down, which is what you're talking about. It's a product quality issue. A lot of people who spent a lot of years watching the NBA don't feel it's worth their time anymore. Those two kind of go together in a way, don't they?
Absolutely, they do. And it's a shame. It really is, because it used to be an American institution. And even people in Mississippi, which this is a baseball and a football state, used to care. And now they don't care anymore. And it's not just a deep South problem. It's a nationwide problem. And I think leadership is largely to blame for what the current situation there is. And I hate it. But everything else is going to thrive. So it sucks to be them, I suppose.
Well, everything else is going to thrive as long as we don't allow the same mindset and the same problems to start infecting other leagues and other sports, because that's always a danger. Because whether they're up or down, whether things are going well or badly, the NBA is still around and they're still making a lot of money for the people up at the top. So, yeah, this might not have as much of an impact as you think when other leagues are looking at this. You would think it would be a 100% cautionary tale, but I have to wonder, some people are like, well, maybe we can take a step in that direction and see what happens. It'll be easier, because that always bites us in the behind, doesn't it?
I sure hope not. Now, you have had this story out of the SEC where they have, now the story leaked out, but they tried to shadow remove an officiating crew who has just been awful for a long, long, long time. But they finally have pulled the plug on that particular officiating crew. And they tried to essentially hide that they did it, but the story got out. At least they're starting to take some action. I've been concerned about that from the SEC, especially in football, for a long time. So maybe taking some action is new. Not maybe, it is new for the SEC, but maybe they're actually starting to take this kind of stuff seriously.
Well, you would hope so, because little problems turn into big problems. And before you know it, you got so many big problems, your knees buckle under you. And then you've got an entirely different row to hoe, and it's not an easy one. It's full of rocks and roots and weeds and everything else. And then you want to complain. You can't do that. I know you have absolutely nothing going on in your life right now, but can you stick around through the break?
I can.
Fantastic. Michael Borkey, you hear him every afternoon on Sports Talk. If you don't, what are you doing with your life? 3 o'clock till 6 o'clock every afternoon. You can get your daily dose. I tried to say dose and Borkey at the same time. Professional broadcasting, my friends, and we will continue it with Michael Borkey up next. Keep it here. Welcome back. SuperTalk Mississippi Mornings. Dave Hughes at the chair. The one and only Michael Borkey joining us, sparing us some of his valuable time. It gets more valuable this time of year because you're always going somewhere, aren't you?
Yeah, we've got Hartfield at East Rankin tonight on SuperTalk Jackson. There's a lot of unique things about the company that we work for. The most unique, I think, is our high school football offerings. Now, there's a lot of sports radio stations or just radio stations across the country that have a local high school football team on their station, and that's a great thing, and the kids deserve that kind of coverage and opportunity. We offer 19. We have 19 high school football teams that broadcast under the SuperTalk umbrella, and it's an incredible thing, and I'm glad to be a part of that here on the Jackson station, but 19 is an incredible number.
The season hasn't really been what you wanted it to be this year, has it?
They started off sluggish, and it was a Hartfield team that had a lot of guys to replace, but I asked Coach Bowman a couple of days ago, I used a March Madness analogy because that's the thing about college basketball is, look, the games in November count in the same way that the ones in February do for your resume. But if you lose in November, it's okay if you're playing well in February. You want to peak at the right time, and I think they are. I think they've finally figured some things out. They've stopped turning the football over, and that has helped a ton. And so when the playoffs come, I think the MAIS, the playoffs here are going to be a lot more interesting than you thought they would be a few weeks ago. They're kind of figuring it out now.
Now, let me ask your opinion on something that I don't think you guys talk about it. I don't know that it's being talked about enough overall. We have an officiating problem, even at the high school level, specifically in Mississippi. But in high school, a big part of the shortage problem is what we're talking about here. We don't have enough, do we?
The shortage is the issue, and the guys that do high school football officiating are so important to. I mean, a lot of things, right? It's you can't have high school football games without officials, and we have so few of them, and it's unfortunate because one, it's a great opportunity. If you're somebody that needs a side job, hand up. No, I'm kidding, but if that's a great opportunity, right? To also be involved in something important and make a little extra money on the side. I hope that they can figure it out because. You're right. There is an officiating shortage, and that will ultimately bleed its way up as well. You have fewer high school officials, and where do you think junior college gets their officials from? And then where does the Sun Belt get their officials from? And then where does the SEC get it's instead of trickle down economics, it's trickle up. You've got to build experience somewhere, and eventually you're going to have a shortage of them at the higher levels, and we don't want to see that because especially in the SEC, it's already questionable enough. You don't want it to get worse.
Do you think the shortage is a direct result of people being overcritical of officials who, at the end of the day, are human beings and they're not going to get it perfect 100% of the time, but we tend to come down on them like a ton of bricks if they make a call that doesn't go the way of our team? So obviously they're horrible people and they catch a lot of grief for that. Is that keeping some people away from it?
At the college and professional level, I think officials need to be held to an incredibly high standard. They get paid a lot anyway, but also the games just matter so much. At the youth level, though, you're exactly right. And I don't know how you fix this problem, too, but everybody listening that has had a kid in youth sports has seen it with their own eyes and they have heard it. The way that some parents treat officials and coaches and players in youth sports is an epidemic. And I mean, you can find countless videos online of umpires, referees being berated by these parents and language used that is just disgusting. And it's like, look, this guy's out here trying to make some extra money on a Saturday morning, and you're treating it like it's Game 7 of the World Series, and that is a big problem. I know somebody that used to do in college some umpiring, and he's like, man, I have never in my life been spoken to the way that moms would speak to me during these U10 Little League games. And yeah, guys are going to find other things to do to make their, $50 for a 2-hour game. They're going to find something else to do, because I don't need to be treated that way. But parents can't control themselves anymore. And maybe they never could, but they can't now. And it's a big problem.
To put it in perspective, and you may not know this, but for quite a few years, I went around and did play-by-play in color for high school football. This has been a while back. We had one game, we showed up, we got set up, we're doing the pregame, everybody's walking around, and right before game time, we noticed there's not a striped shirt out there. And we're like, what's going on? I'm not going to name the teams for obvious reasons that were involved here. The home team in that game had forgotten to schedule officials for the game.
Oh, no.
They literally admitted that. They just forgot to schedule officials, and that canceled the game, because if you don't have officials, you don't get to play the game. That's why it's so important to treat them properly. That was a great object lesson to me, because that was like an hour and a half long trip in the car for me. Then we get there and we get set up. We've done all the pre-work and the prep and the research, and we do the entire pregame, and then we pack up and go home because there were no officials there and no way to get them there at the last second. If you run out of officials, you run out of games. It's just that simple.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny we're having this conversation because it's true. I mean, you need them. They're important. And also, the SEC had to suspend some officials because of poor performance. It is such an interesting time in sports. You have corruption. You have players manipulating their stats to help their buddies get a few $100,000. You have an SEC officiating crew getting, pulled off of games because of poor performance. Our pets' heads are falling off. What is going on here?
Up is down, wet is dry. We don't know what to do with anything at this point. But we'll make it through this probably and get through this to the other side. Where it'll be even worse, but at least we'll make it through this. And some days that's all you can ask for is a change of the scenery. It's always been insane, but it just seems to me over the last couple of years, things have gotten crazier in the sports world. I mean, noticeably, every year there's crazy stuff that happens. You know that. But it seems like for the past couple of years, that has really went into turbo mode for the insanity that has been happening, like that list you just ran down.
And then you have, and I'm sure you've noticed it. To be honest with you, if you want to get really deep here in a minute and a half, I think it's a societal thing. We are so, because you're seeing the way athletes are treated by fans now, and the way they're talked to, and how social media has allowed this intimate access to these people, and the things that are said to them directly, the way crowds are acting, all that stuff. It is, I think it's a mark on what specifically social media has done to people. I'll give you an example. So Rory McIlroy. Now, he's not my favorite player. I don't particularly like the way that he's acted lately in particular, but Rory McIlroy was at a practice round at the Players, and he hit a tee shot into the water. And there is a guy in the crowd heckling him about the shot that he hit, yelling at him and stuff like that, which, in sports, whatever, players get heckled. That's not really a thing that happens in golf, but come to find out, he's a college golfer that is at a practice round of a PGA Tour event heckling Rory McIlroy. Of course, he's filming himself doing it. And it's like, young man, you are watching one of the greatest to ever do what you are trying to do with your life. And instead of watching his process, watching how he practices, watching how he plays and prepares. You are recording yourself for social media, heckling him. It's like you've totally lost the plot. But I think that extends to college football players get their direct messages flooded with hate after bad performances. People, because of the internet, are so much more comfortable saying things that, as Mike Tyson said, would get you punched in the face if you said it to somebody in real life. But they're insulated because of social media. It's creating this culture that is it's sad to see, because it's bleeding over into youth sports, and it's having athletes and real life human being people treated like garbage for just not playing a sport very good. And it's frustrating.
You know, we could do an entire 2 more segments on this exact subject, because you're off in my wheelhouse now, buddy. But I know you got stuff to do. You got to get ready. You got to prep for tonight and pray that they scheduled officials and that you get to play a game.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate the time, and we'll talk soon.
I certainly hope so. It's been too long before today. Michael Borkey, you can catch him every afternoon on Sports Talk, the voice of Hartfield football. It's a busy guy, but for a good reason. Good people wind up busy. That's the way it works. We continue here on Mornings SuperTalk Mississippi right after this on a Friday morning.
Something crazy.